Very dangerous storm is coming to the United States this weekend, producing severe weather in the form of damaging winds, large to very large hail, and more tornadoes, in addition to some locally heavy rainfall, which could cause some flash flooding out there. We're also talking about a major heat wave with record heat during the day and at night, and updating you on the drought and the tropics at the end of the video. So if you are here, make sure first and foremost you subscribe to the channel. We do daily weather forecast breakdowns here on the channel, such as today and future days. Also, like the video, give it a thumbs up, especially if you enjoy the weather forecast, and help to get this vital information out to more and more people. Like it, share it with a friend, family member, social media. I definitely appreciate it. And if you have any comments, questions, and concerns, jot them down in the comment section down below this video. I'm here 24/7 to answer any and all questions you may have. Let's look here at the severe weather across the Great Lakes today. This is remnants of what we saw yesterday, which was a very destructive day, unfortunately, across the upper Midwest and northern plains. We are seeing a slight risk today here across portions of Michigan, including northern lower Michigan, the eastern UP of Michigan, and over here into upstate New York. This is a 2 out of 5 on the risk scale, which means isolated to scattered severe weather will be a possibility. Now, we are seeing 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts being the main threat here across Michigan and into upstate New York as we go into this afternoon and evening. In addition to that, we could be seeing some quarter and half dollar size hail, so be watching out for some hail out there. Park your cars and vehicles underneath an awning or in a garage here, because even quarter-size hail can do damage to the vehicles. And we are seeing a low but non-zero tornado threat in the green here in the eastern UP of Michigan, including the Marquette area, northern lower Michigan, including the Traverse City area. We have a 2% chance of tornadoes. And then back here into northwestern North Dakota, we have a 2% chance of tornadoes today as well. Let's look here first at the Great Lakes and northeast vicinity. We are seeing remnant showers and storms moving across portions of the eastern UP of Michigan and northern lower Michigan as well. A lot of this is actually into Ontario, and as we go into the afternoon, we're going to see that move across Ontario and southern Quebec. We could be seeing a couple isolated storms still firing up there into the UP of Michigan, northern lower Michigan, something we're keeping an eye on. And then those storms will move over into upstate New York as we go into the late afternoon after 4 o'clock and into the early evening hours. This could pose a risk for 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, quarter to half dollar size hail, and a very low, but again, non-zero tornado threat heading into the early evening hours. And as we go into the early morning hours, this could actually bring a line of some stronger thunderstorms to upstate New York, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and western Maine. That could also drop some very heavy rainfall in those areas by Sunday morning. Let's look up here to the northern plains, particularly for eastern Montana and North Dakota. We are seeing quiet weather right now, thankfully, after yesterday's storms. And then as we go into the overnight hours, we're watching 1 or 2 thunderstorms that could fire up, and these could pose a risk for damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour, quarter-size hail, and an isolated brief tornado. The tornadoes today that do happen, if they do happen at all, will not be as violent as yesterday. So at least we can take relief in that, but there still is a tornado threat. So if you do have a warning popping up into North Dakota, into Montana this afternoon, evening, or tonight, make sure you heed the warning, move indoors as fast as you can. And if you have a basement, and take shelter in a basement. If you don't have a basement, move to the most interior room away from the outside world as possible, and centralized room as well in the lowest part of your home. And we are looking at more severe weather going into Sunday, June 22nd. Another slight risk of severe weather in the yellow into the eastern Dakotas and down into Nebraska, much of the state of Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and up here toward Lake Superior. It does include the UP of Michigan once again, and this could be for some significant damaging winds over 75 miles per hour, primarily up into northern Minnesota, including the Arrowhead of Minnesota. Same deal here with some hail. Hail could be up to apple size into eastern North Dakota, a small chunk of northeast South Dakota, and into northern Minnesota as we go into tomorrow. And there's actually a heightened tornado threat in the Brown. That's a 5% chance of tornadoes there into eastern North Dakota, northeast South Dakota, and northern Minnesota, including the Arrowhead of Minnesota there as well, I want to add. And then in the green, we have a 2% chance of tornadoes from the UP of Michigan, northern Wisconsin through central and southern Minnesota, eastern South Dakota, far northwest Iowa, and down into Nebraska as we go into Sunday. A lot of storm energy here. This is a lot of instability going into tomorrow. Over 5,000 joules per kilogram kilogram, again, all the way up here in the north into Minnesota. And these storms, once they get going, will have no trouble producing severe weather with that type of environment with a lot of instability. So here's Sunday morning. Things are pretty quiet out there Sunday morning, and we could have a couple of showers and storms if these get going. These are mainly elevated during the late morning toward midday, so probably more of a hail threat than anything else. As we go into the afternoon, some of these storms will become surface-based, first west into the Dakotas and into Nebraska, and then eventually these will press eastward into Minnesota here. And this looks to be an overnight threat, so make sure you have multiple ways to receive severe weather watches and warnings, whether that's your local TV meteorologist, your smartphone, or Android. Also, even just a NOAA weather radio, a program to your specific city or county, that is also helpful to waking you up during the late night hours to getting those severe weather watches and warnings to you. And as we go into Monday, July 23rd, early next week, another slight risk from the UP of Michigan, northern lower Michigan through Wisconsin, southeast Minnesota, northeastern Iowa. This could grow, this could expand a little bit as we get closer to the day on Monday. Notice here the long range guidance is actually suggesting kind of a ring of fire pattern here, where we have the moisture coming up from the East Pacific and Western Gulf. Over top here, the monsoonal areas of New Mexico and Colorado, and then feeding that moisture up and over that ridge across the Midwest and the Great Lakes. And really, that's the pattern we're in. Even early next week, we have a big ridge of high pressure parked here in the east central United States. So the jet stream in tandem will actually work in bringing those storm systems further to the north. And that's where our storm track will primarily be as we go even through next weekend, which would be the last weekend in June. And that will give us a large reservoir of instability as we go through the week time frame. You can see a lot of yellows, oranges, reds, pinks, purples on here. That's 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 joules per kilogram of instability daily, and that will feed into the thunderstorm cluster threat as we go through late June. So here we go as we go into early next week. After Monday, we got Tuesday. We're still seeing that ring of fire pattern where we have scattered storm development in the afternoon. Notice it's similar areas: Michigan, Wisconsin, southern Minnesota, Iowa, all the way back here into New Mexico. And then as we go into Wednesday, same deal. Although late next week, the ridge of high pressure and heat wave will begin to break down from northwest to southeast, which could bring the storm threat just a little bit further to the south towards Chicago, Des Moines, Kansas City, Indianapolis, and Detroit. Something we're watching as we go into later next week. But multiple rounds of rain, and it is captured here on the ensemble guidance showing from Iowa into southern Minnesota, Wisconsin. We could be seeing some heavier rainfall and rounds of severe weather daily in those areas, so be watching out for that. Now, in addition to the severe weather and heavy rainfall threat, we are dealing with another threat, and that is extreme heat out there. We could be seeing record-breaking heat, and the culprit is this big ridge of high pressure as we go into next week, parking itself all across the east central United States before slowly breaking down later next week. You notice we don't see as deep of the reds here, which means the ridge is weakening. This afternoon, it is in no short supply of heat out there. We're into the triple digits across portions of the central and northern high plains. Even up into Minnesota here, we could be challenging records in Minneapolis, all the way back here into Sioux Falls, into Lincoln. We are going to be very hot this afternoon, and then going into Sunday, notice the heat spreads all the way up toward the Great Lakes. We're in the mid-90s up there in the UP of Michigan and Marquette, hundreds in Omaha and into portions there of Des Moines and Lincoln, and we see record-breaking heat bringing into the northeast as well. And these are just temperatures. Heat index values could be 100 to 110 range daily across these areas, even as we go into early next week. Eventually, though, the northern end of that extreme heat will start to break down as we go into later next week. We won't get much relief even at night. That's why the local National Weather Service offices are actually highlighting areas of heat advisories, extreme heat warnings, because even at night, our low temperatures are going to be into the middle and upper 70s, even low 80s out there, especially in urban areas like Minneapolis, Chicago, Des Moines, and Kansas City, areas that can't cool off fast enough here with all the asphalt in the middle of the city there. That's going to be difficult to cool down at night. So even record low temperatures, for record low high temperatures, if you will, as we go into early next week. So it's going to be very, very hot out there. And just kind of jumping off of the heat, we are going to be seeing a fire weather risk across the western United States in the red there from southern Wyoming, western Colorado through Utah, northern Arizona, even down toward the Vegas area in Nevada. We could have critical fire weather concerns this afternoon. Open burning is prohibited over there, so make sure you're not doing any campfires or anything like that. Very dry conditions. Four Corners region up into southeastern Wyoming on Sunday, elevated fire weather concerns continue, and as as we go into Monday, again, planning itself across southern Nevada, southern Utah, western Colorado, Arizona, and northwest New Mexico. Elevated fire weather concerns continue into Monday, June 23rd across those areas. And just to update you folks on the U.S. Drought Monitor, we have extreme and exceptional drought. Exceptional drought is the worst category of drought on the Drought Monitor. Notice it's very widespread down there into southern Arizona, southern California, into portions of southern New Mexico, West Texas there. So make sure, again, open burning is prohibited in those areas. Very dry. Also very dry with widespread moderate severe drought here, and even pockets of extreme drought developing in the Pacific Northwest and northern high plains. A lot of the east has been very active this spring with storms, including severe weather, so we're not really seeing drought in those areas. Now let's look here at the tropical weather update that we bring to you here on the forecast. The National Hurricane Center is highlighting the East Pacific Ocean south of the Mexico coast as a 60% chance of development of a tropical system, whether that's a tropical depression, tropical storm, or hurricane again, over the next 7 days. We are continuing to keep an eye on this here. It really won't develop over the next few days. I think we're waiting until about the middle of next week, until about Wednesday, June 25th, for any development. Right now looks pretty weak as a tropical depression or a weak low-grade tropical storm, and that should be off the coast of Mexico enough to where it shouldn't bring anything other than indirect impacts, such as rough surf or rip current risks, something we're keeping an eye on. And then as we go into later next week, this could turn into maybe a more formidable storm as either a stronger tropical storm or even a category 1 or 2 hurricane as it nears the coast of Mexico. That's when problems could arise as far as flash flooding goes with heavy rainfall and some stronger rip current risks and stuff like that. As far as the Atlantic Basin goes, National Hurricane Center over the next 7 days is not worried about anything in the Atlantic Basin. That is including the Caribbean and the Gulf. So A-OK over here on the Atlantic Basin side for the tropics so far in late June. Well, thank you all for watching. You know what to do. Subscribe to the channel for daily weather forecast breakdowns. Share this with a friend, family member, or on social media. Definitely helps out in getting this video out to more and more people. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, and I definitely appreciate you all being here. If you have any comments, questions, and concerns, jot them down in the comment section down below. We're here 24/7 to answer any and all questions that you do have. Thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your Saturday out there.